Carl Jung, the renowned Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, didn't directly write about signs someone secretly hates you, but his theories on human behavior, relationships, and the unconscious can help us interpret subtle cues of hidden resentment or hostility. Jung's concepts, such as the shadow, projection, and interpersonal dynamics, provide a framework for understanding how negative feelings might manifest in someone close to you. Below, I'll explain potential signs of hidden dislike or resentment, weaving in Jungian principles to provide a detailed, psychologically grounded perspective. I'll also include practical examples and insights to make the explanation comprehensive yet accessible. Jungian context for hidden resentment. Jung believed that humans have a shadow, the unconscious part of the psyche containing repressed emotions, desires, and traits we don't want to acknowledge. When someone close to you harbors negative feelings, like hatred or resentment, they may not express them openly due to social norms or personal repression. Instead, these feelings leak out through subtle behaviors, projections, or unconscious actions. Jung also emphasized projection, where someone attributes their own undesirable traits or emotions, for example, anger, envy, to another person, which can manifest as passive-aggressive or critical behavior. Using Jung's lens, secret hatred might stem from unresolved shadow conflicts. The person may resent you because you reflect qualities they suppress in themselves. For example, success, confidence. Projection. They project their insecurities or guilt onto you, leading to hostility. Persona versus true self. They maintain a polite persona, social mask, while their true feelings leak out indirectly. Complexes. Unconscious emotional triggers, for example, inferiority or envy, may cause them to react negatively to you. With this in mind, here are detailed signs that someone close to you might secretly harbor negative feelings, grounded in Jungian psychology and practical observation. Passive-aggressive behavior. Sign. They make subtle, indirect jabs or act in ways that undermine you while maintaining plausible deniability. Examples include backhanded compliments, "You're so lucky to always get what you want," sarcastic remarks, or forgetting to include you in plans. Jungian insight. Passive aggression often stems from the shadow. The person may feel anger or envy but represses it to maintain their persona as a good friend or supportive family member. These feelings leak out in veiled hostility because they can't confront them consciously. Example: a friend might say, "Wow, you're so good at getting attention," implying you're self-centered without directly accusing you. This projection could reflect their own unacknowledged desire for recognition. How to spot it? Notice if their tone or actions feel inconsistent with their words. Do they seem to accidentally slight you repeatedly? Jung would suggest exploring whether they're projecting their own insecurities. What to do? Don't react impulsively. Observe patterns and consider addressing the behavior calmly, focusing on how it makes you feel rather than accusing them. For example, "I've noticed you seem upset when we talk about my work. Is something bothering you?" Excessive criticism or nitpicking. Sign. They frequently point out your flaws, mistakes, or shortcomings, often in a way that feels disproportionate or unnecessary. For example, they might critique your appearance, decisions, or achievements in a way that feels personal rather than constructive. Jungian insight. Criticism can be a form of projection. If they dislike something in themselves, for example, failure, insecurity, they may focus on your perceived flaws to deflect from their own shadow. Jung noted that what irritates us in others often mirrors what we reject in ourselves. Example: a sibling who feels inferior might constantly critique your career choices, saying, "You're taking such a risky path, even when you're succeeding." This could reflect their own fear of taking risks. How to spot it? Does their criticism feel targeted or emotionally charged rather than helpful? Are they overly focused on your flaws while ignoring your strengths? This could indicate they're projecting their shadow onto you. What to do? Reflect on whether their criticism mirrors their own struggles. Set boundaries by calmly redirecting the conversation or expressing that you value constructive feedback but not personal attacks. Emotional distance or withdrawal. Sign. They become emotionally unavailable, distant, or disengaged, even if they are physically present. They may avoid deep conversations, stop sharing personal details, or seem uninterested in your life. Jungian insight. Withdrawal can signal an internal conflict between their persona, wanting to appear friendly, and their shadow, Harboring resentment. Jung believed emotional avoidance often masks unconscious feelings that the person hasn't integrated. Example: a close friend who used to confide in you now gives short, vague responses or seems uninterested when you share good news. This could stem from envy or discomfort with your growth, which challenges their self-image. How to spot it: notice if they consistently avoid meaningful interaction or seem detached when you're vulnerable. Are they less responsive to your successes or struggles than they used to be? What to do: gently check in. For example, I've noticed you've been quieter lately. Is everything okay? This gives them a chance to open up while showing you're aware of the shift. Avoid pushing too hard, as they may need time to confront their feelings. Envy disguised as support. Sign: they offer superficial support for your achievements but subtly undermine you or downplay your success. For example, they might say, "That's great you got that promotion, but it's probably so stressful, right?" Jungian insight. Envy often arises from the shadow, particularly when someone feels inferior or unfulfilled. Jung argued that unacknowledged envy can lead to projection, where the person attributes their own feelings of inadequacy to you, framing your success as a threat. Example: a colleague might congratulate you on a project but add, "It's not a big deal, anyone could have done it." This minimizes your achievement to soothe their own feelings of inadequacy. How to spot it: pay attention to their tone and follow-up comments. Do they consistently downplay your successes or redirect attention to themselves? This could indicate they're struggling with their shadow. What to do: acknowledge their support but don't internalize their minimization. Focus on your own growth and surround yourself with people who genuinely celebrate you. Gossip or talking behind your back. Sign: you hear through others that they've been speaking negatively about you or sharing your personal information in a way that feels betraying. Jungian insight. Gossip can be a way of externalizing shadow emotions like resentment or anger. Jung believed that when someone can't confront their feelings directly, they may express them indirectly through criticism or betrayal. This also ties to the animus, unconscious masculine, feminine aspects, where unresolved relational dynamics lead to manipulative behavior. Example: a family member might tell others you're arrogant after a disagreement, projecting their own unresolved pride or insecurity onto you. How to spot it: be alert to patterns of mistrust. Do mutual acquaintances hint that this person speaks negatively about you? Are they overly curious about your life but reluctant to share their own? What to do: confront this diplomatically if evidence is clear. For example, "I heard you mention something about me to X. Can we talk about what's going on?" If gossip persists, limit what you share with them to protect your boundaries. Lack of reciprocity. Sign: the relationship feels one-sided. They take more than they give. They may expect your support, time, or resources but rarely reciprocate or show gratitude. Jungian insight. This imbalance can reflect a lack of integration between their persona, appearing caring, and their shadow, selfishness or resentment. Jung emphasized that healthy relationships require mutual individuation, each person striving for self-awareness and authenticity. Example: a friend always asks for favors but is unavailable when you need help. This could stem from unconscious resentment or a sense of entitlement tied to their shadow. How to spot it: track whether they show genuine interest in your needs. Do they only reach out when they want something? Are they dismissive when you ask for support? What to do: set clear boundaries. Politely decline one-sided requests and focus on relationships that feel mutual. Jung would encourage self-reflection to ensure you're not enabling their behavior. Body language and nonverbal cues. Sign: their body language contradicts their words. They might smile while speaking but avoid eye contact, cross their arms, or turn away from you during conversations. Jungian insight. Nonverbal cues often reveal the unconscious. Jung's concept of the shadow suggests that repressed emotions manifest physically when they can't be expressed verbally. A mismatch between words and body language may indicate hidden discomfort or hostility. Example: a partner says, "I'm happy for you," but their smile is forced, and they avoid looking at you. This could reflect unacknowledged envy or resentment in their shadow. How to spot it: observe their facial expressions, posture, and eye contact. Do they seem tense or closed off when interacting with you, especially during positive moments? What to do: trust your intuition about their nonverbal signals. If safe, Gently address the discrepancy. For example, you seem tense. Is something on your mind? This invites them to confront their feelings, sabotaging your efforts. Sign they subtly or overtly undermine your goals, whether by discouraging you, creating obstacles, or dismissing your ambitions. Jungian insight. Sabotage can stem from a complex and unconscious emotional wound that triggers defensive behavior. If your success threatens their self-image, they may try to keep you in your place to avoid facing their own shadow. Example: a friend might discourage you from pursuing a new opportunity, saying, "That's too risky for someone like you," projecting their own fear of failure. How to spot it? Notice if they consistently question or belittle your goals, especially when you're making progress. Do their actions seem designed to hold you back? What to do? Protect your ambitions by limiting how much you share with them. Surround yourself with supportive people and reflect on whether this relationship aligns with your growth. How to respond using Jungian principles. Jung emphasized individuation, the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of the psyche to become whole. If someone close to you secretly harbors negative feelings, their behavior likely reflects their own unintegrated shadow rather than your worth. Here's how to respond. Self-reflection. Use Jung's concept of the shadow to examine your own reactions. Are you projecting your fears onto their behavior? Are you enabling their resentment by seeking their approval? Set boundaries. Protect your emotional space by limiting interactions or sharing less with someone who shows these signs. Open dialogue if appropriate. Invite honest conversation to bring their unconscious feelings to light. For example, "I've noticed some tension between us. Can we talk about it?" Focus on your individuation. Prioritize relationships that support your growth and authenticity. Jung believed healthy connections arise when both parties strive for self-awareness. Caveats and considerations. Not every sign equals hatred. Some behaviors, for example, withdrawal, criticism, may stem from stress, insecurity, or personal struggles rather than hatred. Context matters. Cultural nuances. Jung's theories are universal, but cultural norms influence how emotions are expressed. For example, in some cultures, direct confrontation is avoided, leading to more passive-aggressive behavior. Your own shadow. Jung would caution you to examine your own unconscious biases. Are you interpreting their behavior through your own insecurities or past experiences? Final thoughts. Detecting hidden resentment requires keen observation of subtle cues, informed by Jung's understanding of the unconscious. Signs like passive aggression, criticism, or sabotage often reflect the other person's unintegrated shadow rather than your flaws. By staying grounded, setting boundaries, and focusing on your own growth, you can navigate these dynamics with clarity and resilience.